Well, hello. Welcome to May 11th, 2022. I'm Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation. I do this every morning, shortly after waking up. I used to do this almost immediately after cleaning up. Now I write in my journal first, and then I do this. Something about I found a sweet spot for writing, because I've got a desk over there that's I use for journaling. I didn't buy it special for that. I found it at the side of the road and brought it home and thought that would make a good journal desk. It's an old roll top thing. So what I do is after I clean up, I come into this room and I turn on just the lights on the desk. The whole house is black and dark at night, and I leave the window open. I can hear the crickets outside, and I open my journal and I begin to write. And it's a very conducive atmosphere and timing for that activity. And more, I used to journal all the time. I stopped doing that in my 30s. I journaled, you know, I journaled from probably 28 to 32, a lot, boxes full of stuff. And then I basically didn't do it. I was doing this, making videos and writing books. And now I've found my way back to journaling, largely because of reading the life of Life of Samuel Johnson, where Johnson admonishes Boswell so frequently to journal. He says that journaling is like now, written, this is 250 years ago, that Johnson lived, so a lot of their ideas are a little bit, they don't suit so well with our ideas, the ideas of men and women. He says journaling is for a man, for a woman looking in the mirror, getting herself all fixed up, in her outfit before going out. That's what journaling is for a man, getting his mind all fixed up. Now, of course, we can apply that to men and women equally in these days, even in those days, but they didn't. So I thought that, yeah, that's kind of right. It's a chance to tidy your mind and, make sure, not any too undue creases, etc. Just so. And also, one of the things I did was I decided to go for more minutia in the journal. It used to be that my journals were ideas, which are interesting. Ideas are, in a way, they're timeless, right? And I'm still doing that, but I'm also adding the incidents of the day. Like this morning I was journaling. Usually I'm journaling about the day that just passed. And I was writing about the experience of going in to the office yesterday in this, 2 years in plus into the pandemic. I've been working from home for so long, and I was writing about what it was like to sit in that sea of cubes, empty cubes in the darkened 5th floor. Just a few managers in offices around, and just a few employees like me that had to come in for some reason, hoteling in a cube. But for the most part, just a darkened floor. And what it felt like to sit at a cube again in an office chair, wearing pants, and most dreadful of all, wearing shoes, which I've become so accustomed to going barefoot now. Yeah. I think many of us that have been working from home are guilty of a less than business-like apparel below the waist. Guilty. There's times when I've got the camera on, I'm like hoping that nothing happens, that I have to stand up. I'll just turn the camera off. Anyway, I wrote that, and then I also wrote, I got a new computer yesterday at work, and then when I got that computer, I was thinking, this might be my last computer ever. Because I'm hoping to retire in a handful of years, and typically work-issued computers last more than a handful of years. And I'm seriously questioning if in retirement I want a computer at all. This device I've got here, the phone, I think will be plenty. I plan to pare down my computer time. I really want to spend more time living than well, computerized living. But you know what I mean. Not doing that. That doesn't feel like a good use of time. Doing this is a better use of time. Reading is a better use of time. This device here, my iPhone 11 Pro Max, whatever it is. When I got this one, I got give me the whole thing. All the bells and whistles, and 512 gigabytes of RAM. Of memory. This thing is fantastic. There's really nothing that I can't do on this that I would need a computer for. In fact, I never used the computer. I do have a computer, but the only computer I ever use is my work computer, and I only use it for work. As soon as I'm done with work, I step away from the desk. This big, beautiful desk I've got here is wasted for any other purpose. I thought I might do live streaming, but I'm so burnt out doing hours and hours of meetings every day that there's no way in hell I want to do that. So anyway, I wrote about that too. I wrote about in the journal about how this might be my last computer. And I tried to use words that described this experience. Like, I didn't say work, I said work, and then in parentheses said RCIT. I want to lay in the color and the detail of the circumstances, because I know that in years hence, it'll be those details that will draw out the picture, the reality, the timeless ideas. It sounds like my ideas are timeless. I don't mean it that way. It's the ideas themselves are timeless. The timelessness of the ideas that I like to write in my journal will be given some grounding and context if they are situated within the journal entries that tell of the particulars. And it's fun. And I have my little crayons there, and I can illustrate like I used to do in my journal. I'm not doing so much, but I'm doing a little bit. So this morning I drew a picture of a lone man, me. You can always tell it's me because I've got this pile of yellow hair. That's how I used to look when I was young. I don't have a pile of yellow hair anymore. A young man with a yellow pile of yellow hair in kind of a small sea of cubes. That's enough. That's enough to evoke the memory. I will see that painted the picture on it close enough that I will see it in my mind. I will see it in my mind in the future, if and when I look back, and maybe even my those to follow, my family, might be able to paint a small picture as well. Maybe I should have written a little bit about the people too. I talked to Anita. She came by my cube. She helped me with the PeopleSoft thing. I talked to Martin. I talked to Scott. I think it's okay to say people's names. I'm not saying their last names. This will be meaningful to me to remember. I saw Daryl briefly. I think that's about it. Oh, and I saw Lewis. It was his birthday. I stopped by his office and shook his hand. Happy birthday, Lewis. And seeing Lewis made me think of Jolie. And after I was left, I thought I should have taken a selfie with Lewis to send to Jolie. She would have liked that. And it's details like that don't mean anything to you, but they bring the human element in, right? Then it populates the journal entry with not only the place and the feeling and the atmosphere and the sore feet from wearing the shoes, and there's Anita in her office. I see she went to the standing desk and she's having a meeting, and I can hear Martin over there having his meeting, and Lewis has got the happy birthday across the opening to his door. That's the human element. That's the color. That's the importance of the journal. So yeah, I'm back into it. I'm doing that again. Wow, how did I get a long way and I haven't even started. So how did I do yesterday? Well, I think I talked a bit about it. It was a good day yesterday. I was very fortuitous that I had only 2 meetings on the day on the day of my daughter's wedding, no, on the day that my computer died, so because I had to get a new computer yesterday, and I went into the office, and then I stayed at the office in the afternoon, setting up the new computer, making sure all the software worked, and et cetera, et cetera. And so then it should work. I haven't plugged it in yet. I got home, I was dead tired. Had no real, I wasn't ambushed by anything yesterday. Had no real need to apply my principles, or it was a very straightforward day. How did I do with my criteria? Did I write in my journal yesterday? Yes. Did I make a video? Yes. And did I read 10 pages? Yeah, I read like 18 pages yesterday. So yeah, I get another circle for today. Tuesday in the bag. Let's begin the good life. 7 objectives. 30 principles that I use to live a better life. Okay, the first objective is to be always ready to die. To live prepared for death. Having my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order. The second objective is to make good and effective use of time. To squeeze delicious, what is it? Distraction out of my time. Delicious distraction rather than mundane distraction, because it's all distraction. There's really nothing that I can do that is worthwhile in any other outside of, being a good husband and father and citizen. Husband, father, brother, son, citizen, etc. That's the best stuff that I can do. The rest is just filler. But I want it to be good filler. Filler that, even though all of it's just like the filling of a cream puff, ephemeral, just here for a moment, sweet and yummy, mostly. So I want to read, I want to walk, I want to write a little bit. Don't want to spend a lot of time on computer. I want to spend more time with people. I want to think. To be healthy. But most of all, help Emily to carry on. Good use of an effective use of time. The next objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. These principles that help me to live better. Maintain them. That's what I do every day when I make this video. Next is the objective to have good emotional reactions. To react well. Like 2 weeks ago, I was just thinking about it. I reacted well to a challenging situation. I used the time. I thought. I plotted even. I decided how I would react. And I reacted with my brain rather than my gut. And I did good. I want to do that more often, even with the stuff that ambushes me. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. And then the next one is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I keep it between the lines, not venturing to try what is impossible or not very likely, unless it's for a really good reason. It's worth the effort. It's worth the effort to throw everything into a single roll of the dice. That's not a good way to describe it. That's not. How do you describe that? Some things are worth failing over. Like, it's worth failing. It's worthwhile to throw oneself onto a hand grenade that's thrown into the foxhole to save our fellows. That's outside the line of well-being for yourself, but well within the limits of well-being for others. So I guess not. I guess it's not because the well-being of others supersedes the well-being of ourselves if our values align that way. It's kind of a tangled mess there. I need to think about this one. But anyway, try to recognize what I can do and focus on those things and worry less about the stuff it's impossible for me. And then lastly, to do just one thing at a time and to do that thing slowly and deliberately. No multitasking. Okay, now my 30 principles. The principle of war, to always be fighting against anything that I think is true. And anything that anyone proposes to me is true if it seems to be important. Because I don't want to believe things that aren't true. 2, the principle of reason and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. If I'm honest with others and myself, and objective in my point of view and my reference and my consideration, and a skeptic, then I'm likely to course through life bearing the weight of as few untruths as possible. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to struggle to find a way to say that, but I think that covers it. The next principle is the homunculus, the suggestion that though we do not have a soul, we do have a consciousness, at least those of us who are conscious, and to treasure that. So I don't treasure any dream of immortality. I am not one who is not of this world. I am of this world. I am of this awareness that I've got, and I'm of the seeming reality that is fleeting and will be gone very soon, just like me. Next is the Anchorhold, the suggestion that the homunculus, our consciousness, is trapped within our heads. Excuse me. No astral projection, and no survival, no escaping through escape hatch without the ears upon death. We're stuck. And not only are we stuck in the head in that capacity, we're also stuck insofar as we can't really connect with others. As close as we hold them, we're always apart because each of us is trapped within our own cranium, literally. Trapped within our network, our nerves. Next comes the home of good and evil, the suggestion that right and wrong are mere opinions, subjective at that, and that the only approach to objectivity is when you and I agree about what a particular, and we have good reasons to agree about why something is good. It's still subjective that we value that as good, but it's objective that it's founded on good reasons. Good and evil do not pervade the universe. They are stuck there with the homunculus. I like to picture the homunculus riding them in chalk along the rafters inside its head. There's a picture in Going Alone that Emily made of that little man inside of a head with writing behind him. Now the next one is the principle of purpose. My purposes are to raise my daughter, and to that end to be a good husband and father, etc. To be a virtuous man, working to improve the well-being of others, particularly thinking others, and to have my mission to share the message of the story of Going Alone and the Good Life Creed, which I'm doing right now. This video is my endeavor, my daily endeavor, in part to help myself to tune and to align to the day my values, but also to share those values to anyone that might have an interest. Next is atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, and those bits and pieces tend to fall to pieces. So will you and me, very soon. Then comes the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to know what that is, to recognize it so that we can live according to it. Then the pirate ride. Free will is an illusion. It's a very convincing illusion, but illusion nonetheless. We don't make decisions on our own. We are far, far too influenced by the world around us, by precedent, by inertia, of everyone and everything. That every decision we make is a result of of motive force and precedent, and a sort of clamoring consensus that leads us to no or yes or up or down. I like to say the universe has far more to say about our decisions than we do. Actually, that's the first time I've ever said it that way. I said I like to say it, but I like to think it kind of like that. I like that. I wonder if that's too long to fit in the title. Okay, next comes maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. We are mature when we remember, objectively remember our past, our successes and failures, and work to do better in the future. And then comes the social principle. We are social creatures, even those of us who are loners, introverts. We need each other. And it's good to find one another. It's good to find a partner and make a family. It's a good thing. But don't do it till you're ready. You're never really ready, but until the preponderance of readiness is upon us, because it's hard work. And then comes the principle of public speaking. To remind myself to use few words, carefully chosen words, deliberate words, and to never ever gossip. Then comes temperance and the sub-principles of suffering, simplicity, and apathy. Temperance is our controlled consumption of everything. Food and drink and work and play and sex and worship and television and sports, everything and anything, just in moderation, just enough. We suffer when we deny ourselves what we want. We live a simple life when we deny ourselves excess. And apathy is what we can use to disconnect ourselves from the stuff that we denied. Or the stuff, not the way to say it, the stuff that's outside of our control, which is what we can cut off. We can deny ourselves our engagement with those things. It's kind of a temperance towards the things that we're apathetic towards. We're applying temperance to become apathetic in the best sense of the word. Next comes the horror show. Life is an absolute horror story. Just, terrible things, abominable things happening all around us. Just listen to the sirens go by. There's sirens everywhere. If you can't hear them now, they're somewhere. Panic, emergency, worry, fear, pain, suffering, death, agonizing, excruciating disappointment, lives cut short, dreams put to an end, just injustice never found or relieved. It's just the way the world seems to be. And not just for humans, for our pets too, and all the wildlife out there, even the plants, even the even the single-celled algae swimming or drifting through the sea. The horror is everywhere. So I try to remember that, and keep that in mind. So it keeps me sober, and not sober in that sense. Sober in terms of serious mind, taking life seriously. And it also prepares me for the horror that's coming for me, because it's coming for you too, if it hasn't already arrived. Okay, after the horror show comes that which must be borne, carried. What we have to bear is the fact of the horror show and the fact of the responsibilities we've made. Once you decide to produce a child, you've signed a 20-plus year contract. It's not about you anymore. It's about that little one. That's one of the things that has to be borne. And the difficult job and the tough responsibilities and all the cost and the, oh my gosh, I'll never get ahead and all that stuff. That's yours to bear. And trust me, you'll be better off in the long run for bearing it well. You gain just as much as they do by you bearing it well. Next comes two principles. Distraction, they kind of go together. Distraction and agency and the great indifference. Agency is the idea that there's a God, right? That there's something out there watching over us, that created us, watches over us, has a plan for us, and will see to us after death. Either a theme park, naughty or nice, for our just desserts. Yeah, I don't think that exists. I don't believe in God. I don't think there is a God, or at least if there is, it's doing a good job of hiding, or God or gods. So, what do we do with that absence? Because it's scary to think that we're alone. We distract ourselves. We find ourselves things to do with our home and our family and our job and our community and our sports and the TV shows that we like and the podcasts and church on Sunday. All that stuff keeps us busy. We don't have to see what's outside this pale of busyness. We don't have to see the great indifference. It's a nice trick. It's a good thing. You can spend your whole life doing it. I don't think it's very honest. I wouldn't want to live that way. I'd rather witness the nothing and carry on as best I can. That's how I live. That's what going alone is. That's what the book Going Alone is all about. Facing up to it, and then what? Although then what is to live well in spite of that fact. To put together some objectives and principles and remind myself of them and carry on. Live well. Live a virtuous life. In spite of in spite of the fact that we're alone, and life is a quite finite thing. Okay, next is the principle called the best seat in the house. To not want to be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing right now, right here. Then comes the Path of Wildness. It's a way forward to break out of a current circumstance into a new circumstance. Not to run away necessarily, although it's okay to run away as long as you're not running away from responsibility. It's okay to run away from circumstance, because circumstance gets dull. Like I say, this gets, when I get to near the end, there's a principle called the uphill climb. As I picture a mountainside of life, and every day is climbing the mountain, and the view gets better from up above. But some of us might stop and dig in, and you can stop and rest for a little bit, but watch out digging in to the side of the mountain for good. And that's what happens when we get stuck. Our circumstance. Some people want that. Some people don't want to continue the climb, and that's fine. Not for me. I want to climb as high as I can in the time that I've got. And that's what the Path of Wildness is. It's a way to break out of, because once you sit down at the side of the mountain and you take your pack off and, you pull off your shoes and socks and spread out and maybe make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and they got the water over here, maybe boil some coffee, you kind of get settled in, right? It's hard to pack all that stuff up and get the shoes back on and back up the mountain. The longer you wait, the easier it is to get settled in. So much so that I know coworkers that are, they choose not to retire because they've got their little kit all settled. They plug away, even though a life of more seeming ease awaits. They won't do it. There's just a little higher up the mountain. There's a lovely plateau. If you just, can pack up the crap and get up, and they won't do it. So it's a danger to get settled in. That's what the Path of Wildness is. It's a way to break through. It's a way to say, okay, I'm going to move on. I'm going to pack all this crap up or leave it behind. because it turns out you don't need very much of it. You can get more where you're going. Think about the options and then make a decision. And then if you need more time, think a little longer, but not forever. Eventually make a decision, and if necessary, decide with our gut. Left, right, up, down, and off we go. That's the path of wildness. I like to say that it's easy to find. It's the course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast tracked through the brush, and the direction of our first inclination. Next comes the risk of avoiding risk. Life has the surface level risks of education, career, family, home, and security. And then the deep risk of finding ourselves. A lot of people can focus on these because we're encouraged to, we're raised to, our families, our parents tell us do all these things. We're rewarded to. There's whole institutions set up, mortgages, schools, everything, banks set up for all this stuff. There's very little set up or encouraged towards that deeper thing. If in our teens and early 20s, if we feel drawn to that deeper thing, we better do it when we're young. Otherwise, it'll haunt us later, and you can't do it later. Not very effectively. It has a shelf life of 20s to the 30s typically. You can try in your 40s and 50s, but it will be like a bit like someone who says they're going to become a sprinter or a hurdler, or they're going to go to the Olympics in their 40s or 50s, or become a professional basketball player. That season has passed. It doesn't mean you can't have something. You can. It can be relatively satisfying, but you'll always know the opportunity was rather missed. So this message is really for the younger people. Us oldsters, we've had our chance. But it doesn't mean you can't have a good rest of your life. You can. You just have to remember what is the true limits, right? And what are the true opportunities. There's lots of books to read, lots of thoughts to have, and lots of adventures that you can have within the reasonable tolerance of your own tolerance, because that's what it comes down to, is the tolerance, right? The tolerance for risk and the tolerance for recovery, because it's much harder to recover in your 50s than in our 20s. And that's an important element. It's one of the reasons I'm probably going to sell my motorcycle soon. Okay, so that was the risk of avoiding risk. Now comes the sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview. These relate to being untrue, believing things that are untrue, or gossiping. And these sins are falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and gossip. You can engage in any of those things, and by golly, you're damned. Likely damned. Damned to being a damned liar, untrue, being a damned credulous person, or being a damned gossip. I like that, damned gossip. I'll use that if I can't fit the other thing. All right, now the next one is complete oblivion. There's no God. You don't have a soul. That means there's no heaven, no hell, no afterlife. When we die, that's it, forever. We're never going to see our loved ones again. We're never going to have a chance to reconcile and make amends, and we'll never see justice served. The only chance we get for any of that is now in this one life that we get. So make the best of it. Next is a great life adventure. I think I talked about that already. It's the thing you need to do in your youth, in your 20s. I recommend about 25, 26, just after you finish college. Go to college. Go to college. Do not miss that chance. Start at a junior college. Don't go straight to a university, and probably try to avoid a famous university. Go to a local community college. Study, do all your GED. Take the classes, even the ones you don't want to take, and then go to a lesser known school, a small school, someplace like a university, and study whatever the hell interests you. Get a degree in that. It's really the foundation for a well-lived life. I can't emphasize that enough. I know that colleges have been getting a bad rap lately, but there's something to that. Very significant and deep. And then after that, go home. If your parents are, if you got a kind of a good relationship with them or whoever, go home and drop the degree off. Here, I did this. Hold this for me, please. Get a backpack. I don't care. This is just, you don't have to do it this way if you don't want to get a backpack, whatever the hell. And say, I'll see you in 5 years. And come back when you're 30. Go out into the world and don't even send letters. Say, tell them, I'm not going to send any letters. You're not going to hear from me. You may never hear from me again. I may not come back. I may end up as a skeleton on the South Sea Island somewhere. But I'll see you. 5 years, I'll see you. And then come back, stumble back at age 30, 31, something like that. 30 is good. Just your skin is baked. Your hair is long and bleached, and your clothes are ragged and torn, and your backpack, you lost that, and now you've just got something else. And you're limping, and it's a limp that'll never go away. You're going to limp the rest of your life, and you don't get anybody pregnant out there. Okay? Don't leave any babies in your wake. And he said, do that, but come back and, I'm back. Okay, where's that degree? I'm ready. Now, you've assuaged the deep level risk. You've had your great life adventure. Now, you can pursue the surface level risks of you got the education, and then now you can pursue the home and the family and the career and the security. And you will not, when you get to be my age, very likely feel like you missed anything, because life's going to get tough. And you won't be sitting there thinking, if I'd only chosen that other path. You did choose that other path. You did do that thing. And now you can do the other thing in peace. Well, kind of. Peace. There's never any peace. I like that too. Peace. There's never any peace. There isn't. Except when you're drunk. I like that title best. Peace. There's never any peace. Okay, now, what was I saying? Okay, I did the Great Life Adventure, then the Season of Philosophy. Time to record what you learn along the way. Keep the journal handy. Write down everything. Be as descriptive as possible. Use lots of adjectives. Add people's names. All the details. It's like wine. It gets better with time. And then the uphill, the bullseye aim. We try it for the mark. We usually miss. The uphill climb. I talked about that already. Arena and utility. Life is an arena for the living of our life, using our principles towards our objectives. Arena utility. And then nothing is enough. Less is freeing. It also encumbers us with it encumbers us with inconvenience sometimes when we don't have our tools. But also, how often do we really need all those damn tools? Not if we're living a simple life. And then finally, the principle of fun. The real objective in the long run, right? To have a good time, wholesome good time, not at anyone else's expense, not gossiping, not taking advantage of anybody, not clawing our way to the top, but just peacefully enjoying the moments of our life in whatever wholesome way we can find to do so. Preferably not drunk. That type of a drinking enjoyment is another form of distraction. Doesn't mean we can't have a couple of drinks in the evening, but in moderation. And then the principle of fun also suggests that it's like a dial, and I use this dial every day. The dial, when it's straight up like this is the here and now, right? Now, the trouble with having fun in the here and now is that it's fraught with reality. Things don't go the way we expect. Problems happen, and and it frustrates our happiness in the moment. So it's a difficult thing to attain. You can find that's why parties are fun, right? Because parties are kind of a momentary substitution. We're like blocking out the rest of the world. Everything outside this house is not a part of the party. Let's turn up the music, the atmosphere. Let's get a little bit drunk. Everybody's in the same mood. Nobody's thinking about our cares. Bars do that, right? That's one of the reasons bars are so attractive. The real world can't impinge for a little bit on us. It's fine. I mean, it's not, I don't like getting drunk in excess like that, but it's not for me. Because like I said, it's a distraction. Having fun in the moment. Like when I go to a movie with my wife, we're going to have fun in the moment. We're going to see that thing. I know that things are going to happen along the way that are going to be frustrating. That life just doesn't go right. So keeping that in mind, we can also turn the dial forward. And we can hope for the future. It's a lot of pleasure to imagine the future. And the sweet about that is that it rarely does the real world creep in. That's why hope is such a pleasant virtue. Is it a virtue? Pastime. We can also turn the dial back and remember the past. That's where the journaling is so important, right? We can recollect with detail and remember. It filters out unless we add in the sticky bits. But even if you add the sticky bits in hindsight, they're less sticky. They're kind of like, oh yeah, remember the car broke down? We say with a smile on our face, because we're not in the here and now with the car broke down. We're remembering it and remember how we got through it. So that last principle, the principle of fun in the here and now, hoping for a fun future and remembering a fun past, or even a difficult past that's remembered with a tinge of mature hindsight. It's a good way to live. All right, well, that's it. This plan for the day. I'm going to finish this. I'll start the video uploading. Go read my Bible. My dogs, you can hear him dreaming. I'll feed the dogs, wake them up, wake up. Feed him, feed myself, get dressed, get to work, power through the day. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.